Hope everybody's having a fabulous day. I'm gonna clean off my camera. This was totally impromptu and spur of the moment, but Spirit was like, you know what? It's a new moon, and you have not done a reading for the folks them in a minute. In a minute. And I feel bad. I feel bad because, life has been lifing at a high level, and I know that you guys have all been feeling it. We're dealing with Mercury retrograde right now. We also have Pluto entering into Aquarius for the next 2 decades, and that's been interesting energetically, especially as someone with a Scorpio stellium and a Scorpio in, you've guessed it, Pluto, and it's squared right now with Aquarius. There's just a lot of energies, but it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just have a little fun today. We're not gonna be super rigid, super serious. We're just gonna go ahead and do like a quick little card pull. Spirit said to use the Moonology deck, and we're gonna go and do the full reading with this guy. So we'll do like a 3-card pull to start off to get the general energies, and then if we need clarifiers after that, we can go ahead and get into that. But yeah, I hope everybody's been well. I hope everybody's having an excellent Sunday. Happy December 1st, happy Sag season. It's a good time to be alive. Like, life is wonderful, even when it's lifing. Because you know what? There are some people who didn't get to wake up and have life at all today for them. So I am grateful to be amongst the lifers and be amongst the living. Actually, to be amongst the thriving, because we're past just living as a baseline. Like, we're past peace as a baseline. Now we're heading for joy. The goal is constant elevation and balance in all things, balance in all things, balance at all times. So actually, even though I keep my space very energetically clean, I'm still gonna grab. I just got some new Florida water. So let's cleanse with Florida water. We usually do sound cleansing. Sometimes I smudge, but it's nice that we get to, experiment with all the different ways that we cleanse energy over here on this channel. Peace. We are doing a full moon reading. Right now I'm just cleansing the energy of the space, cleansing my own energy so that we can go ahead and get started. So, Most High, ancestors, angels, spirit guides of our collective, what new moon messages do you have for us on this December 1st as we step into the last month of this year? Because it has 2024. Yeah, and 2025 proves to be even more interesting. So let's see what guidance we have as we go into it. Okay. All right, so first card, full moon in Leo, go wild. Let's get a look at that imagery. This is a great card. I love this card. Okay, so Leo energy, first off, has to do with solar plexus energy. It has very much to do with the color yellow, has very much to do with our sense of self, ego, all of those things. So if it's telling us to go wild, it means essentially stop holding yourself back from being the truest embodiment of who you are. Because at the end of the day, it's I'm sorry, people in the comment section really just threw me off. But at the end of the day, no one can define you. This is actually very interesting because in the comments, I have people asking like, do I smoke? Do I drink? Like all of these things. And, those are often inquisitive things that we want to know about people. And it's often, in a sense of forming community and so forth. But a lot of times people do it so that they can, judge from the outside and decide what box they want to put you in. within their mind. But at the end of the day, you have to go wild and be yourself unapologetically, because you have to look yourself in the mirror every day. You're the one that has to do it. Nobody else. Nobody else has to live in your skin. Nobody else has to go to sleep at night and peacefully sleep with the consequences of your actions and decisions but you. So it does not behoove you in any way, shape, or form to allow outside people to influence that, to come and shake that up, because they're not going to take the consequences for you. They're not. They're going to look at you and be like, well, I mean, I told you, but you ain't have to do it. And that's how so many people end up getting their lives lived for them, end up not following their dreams, end up find to this neat little package where they've so many pieces of themselves to fit into this box that makes everybody else comfortable. Where this lion does not look like it cares about making you comfortable. This lion looks like it's in the middle of a roar. And I don't know if you've ever heard a lion roar like in real life. I know we've all seen Lion King. You know what I'm saying? I know we've all seen the Pride Rock scene. But if go and Google like an actual lion roaring. It is so powerful. And it is so primal, and it is so raw. And at the end of the day, it doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't care whether its roar makes you uncomfortable. So go wild. Get out of your comfort zone. Go for yours. Live authentically. Like, live really for yourself and for your ancestors and for the Most High, but from your own heart space, from your own center. Allow that to be the guiding force behind how things go. And, I care about how other people feel too. There's something to be said for compassion. And there is a line. There's a line in all things. It is about balance. Nobody is saying, because, okay, let's go and get into the next couple cards. Excellent transition point. Attend to the details is the second card as far as guidance. Last quarter moon in Virgo. Okay, so Virgo energy is very much meticulous, very much about details, very much about perfection. So even though we're going wild, it's not wild in the sense of recklessness, because there's a difference. It's just in a sense of being untempered. Because it's in a sense of being unfiltered is what we're talking about when we say raw here. But attending to the details is equally important, because at the end of the day, the small things are often the big things. And we can get caught up in so much of the big picture that some of the small things can fall to the wayside. And since we are in Mercury retrograde, that retrograde period is very much about, going back and making sure that you have all your ducks in a row, making sure that you have all of your boxes checked, and that when Mercury goes forward again, I was going to say unretrograde. Nigga, that's not when Mercury goes forward again, you need to be ready to ride that wave of momentum, to catch that slingshot. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to, it's like when you're racing and you're drafting somebody, like you got to be able to, know when the right time is to catch that wave and go forward. And you have all your ducks in a row. What's the phrase? If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Yes, if you have all your ducks in a row, then when it's time to move, all you got to do is move. All you have to do is move. You don't have to be like, oh, snap, I'm sorry. I didn't know I had ducks to arrange. And that can go for opportunities in business. If you do anything creative, entrepreneurial, or even in terms of your job, if you are going up for a promotion or something, you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, so that when you do get that promotion, it's not like, oh, well, I need to learn the new facets of this job, or I didn't actually master the last thing, so now I'm kind of behind. And sometimes that can end up sabotaging situations for you, situations that were blessed and ordained. You can sometimes fumble by not being ready. And that also goes for relationships. If you are not taking the time to doing the healing work, then you can fumble people that God has put into your life to be major blessings. And it is just a matter of knowing how to be true to yourself, how to be true to that wild part of yourself, but then also attend to the details of the relationship and notice the subtle things. And that can be hard to do because, as I said, life be out here lifing at very high levels, and it's not always a one-to-one ratio in terms of intent and impact. And that's even as far as jobs and so forth. Oftentimes we come across things that are completely unexpected and we had no way of being able to foresee it, and then it's just like, but in those moments it's necessary to honor your feelings. First quarter moon in Pisces, so that's interesting. We have the last quarter moon in Virgo, and its exact opposite, the first quarter moon in Pisces. So this is the overarching theme. The overarching theme is go wild. But in the midst of going wild, attend to the details and also make sure that you're honoring your feelings, because this reality doesn't really put a high penchant on, people really acting from their heart space, really honoring their feelings. A lot of times people don't even really know what they're feeling because they're suppressing it, they're in denial, they're taking so much time to try to focus on other things because they don't want to feel the feeling that they're feeling, and so it's easier to distract. I mean, that's why there's a whole industry around, that's why capitalism exists, to make you feel better. Now that you have this new car, don't you feel better about yourself? It's all about making you feel better. Now that you got that makeup, don't you feel better? Don't you? I'm sorry, Pussycat Dolls popped into my head. Anyway, yes, it's necessary to honor your feelings. And that means at every stage. And that means being able to be flexible and being able to honor your feelings as they change and they grow and evolve. You are not beholden to any previous state. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to have bad days and have good days, because part of honoring your feelings is honoring the days when you just don't have it, when you just don't have the social battery, when you just don't have the bandwidth. And that's okay. We live in this culture that's like hustle, bustle, rat race, hustle, bustle. And it's just like, I mean, I guess there's a time and a place for that. Like, everything has the season, but as the earth, we're entering into Sag season. We're about to hit that winter solstice. The whole planet is in an energy space of slowing down. So if your body is telling you to slow down, honor that, and don't get into this false mindset where it's like, if I'm not being productive every minute of every day, then I'm failing. Like, that most of the geniuses in history were only geniuses in history because they were able to spend a lot of time just thinking, waxing philosophically on issues, pondering, as it were. You know what I'm saying? Because inspiration requires living. Inspiration sometimes requires stillness, because after you're out and you're doing all the living, sometimes you have to sit in stillness and being able to discern and piece together what you need to learn from those experiences, what things need to be discarded, what things need to be kept. Where are areas where you can tighten up? Where are areas where other people around you can tighten up? Because this also has to go for honoring your feelings in regards to the boundaries that you set. It is important to honor yourself. And if you have set a boundary and that's how you feel, you're allowed to set it. But you're also allowed to change it based on life and lived experience, because a lot of times we live in a society where like a lot of the focus is on healing right now. And so because a lot of the focus is on healing, a lot of the focus is on the people who are receiving hurt in any given situation, as opposed to the person who is causing the harm. However, in most situations, there's usually a little bit of overlap and bleed. It's not usually such a clear case of black and white. It's usually, more gray areas, and that has to allow for nuance. And sometimes, it's okay to have seasons where, people are in your life and people are not, because, that's just what life is. And it's about honoring your feelings, but make sure that you're actually being true to yourself and not operating from a space of previous hurt, not allowing those things to negatively negatively impact a situation. So let's go ahead and get another shuffle. Most High, ancestors, angels of our collective, for this new moon period, as we get into the meat of Sagittarius season, what other messages do you have for us? Okay. Full moon in Capricorn. Take a reality check. Weren't we just talking about how in honoring your feelings, it's important to make sure that you're being real with yourself. Make sure that you're not operating from projections. Make sure that you're completely operating from the reality of the situation, because we've all been hurt, we've all been traumatized. And when you deal with situations that are triggering, it can be easy for this situation to have all of its own emotions plus all of the previous emotions. And it can get hard to separate those. It can get hard to separate those and know, what am I feeling in regards to this situation versus what am I feeling in regards to all the other previous times this has happened to me or seemingly happened to me. And that's why it's so important to take a reality check. That's why when we were talking about honoring your feelings and sitting in stillness, that's so important, because it's so important because we want to make sure that we are coming from a space of holding other people accountable, holding ourselves accountable. And the enemy of that is projection, is a disproportionate response to stimuli. So as we're attending to the details, some of the details are reality check. Like, okay, is this how I'm feeling about this situation, or is this just because this reminds me of the time in third grade when, like in the Janelle Monáe song, I like that when she's like, I remember in fourth grade. Like, sometimes things stick with you from fourth grade and you need to put it on a song, like, you know what I'm saying, or express it in some way. And if you are not an artist and you can't necessarily put that person on blast, and I feel real bad for whoever that is, I actually don't, but that's got to be the saltiest shit. Like, imagine just vibing to a song and then you just get called out like, she talking about me? And you just got to sit with yourself and like this weird existential crisis of like, I guess everybody who's ever had a song written about them feels that way. Probably especially the I Bet You Think This Song Is About You dude. But I'm getting off on a tangent. And what I was initially trying to say, if I can backtrack there. What I was originally trying to say is just that things from our past affect us. And even when we have done the healing work, sometimes they can still affect us. It might not be as strong of an effect, but we have to be mindful of it, because to not be mindful of it is to encourage chaos in a certain sense. And there's nothing wrong with chaos, because lots of good things come from chaotic situations. Darkness is the origination of everything, and light comes out of that. And the chaotic void of space where everything is just potential before it comes into order and being in reality. Sorry if I lost some people with that. I try not to get too deep into the spiritual things here. I try to keep it like a little bit. I try to keep it at an introductory level, because I understand that everybody's experience and experience with spirituality is different. I know everybody has different beliefs and religious systems, and I'm always trying to hold space for everyone to show up as they are in the completeness of themselves and to be able to feel comfortable. And sometimes we fall short of that, but we are human. And part of taking a reality check is understanding that we are human and that nobody is perfect. Trust me, as much as I strive for perfection, there are, in honoring my feelings, there are days that I just don't have it. Like, I'm supposed to be going out and being social today, and I told people that I was going to go out and be social today, and I don't know if I have it in me. And I feel bad, because there's a certain amount of thing about showing up for community and so forth. But at the end of the day, they know I love them. They know I love them. We here, they know I love them. But sometimes you just gotta take the time and do an impromptu new moon reading, if that's what spirit calls you to do. And it's necessary to be able to have that flexibility within yourself, to honor your feelings, to be like, if you wake up and you're just like, you know what, I don't got it today, and to trust that the universe wouldn't put you in a situation that you couldn't bear or that was unsustainable. So if you need a mental health day, trust your job will be okay without you. Yeah, your boss might complain, but they complain about everything anyway. That's what they do with the job. You'll be there every day. And the same shit that was going on yesterday is going to be the same shit that's going on tomorrow when you go in. So if you need to take a day off, honor that shit. If you need to just go and sit by a body of water in lotus position and meditate, that's cool. If you just want to sit on your couch and eat Oreos and Lay's and veg out and watch reality TV, listen, I do not judge people's self-care. I do not judge people's coping mechanisms, because we are all doing our best out here. We're all doing our best out here. And as long as you're not out here causing harm to nobody, it's a choose your own adventure novel. What other people eat literally does not make me shit. And that's also part of the reality check, is knowing where you end and other people begin. Realizing that as much as we live in community and as much as we are a species that is interdependent with each other and our atmosphere and our environment, that's the word that I was looking for, we're also all individuals. And to think that there's only one Freudian slip, there's only one white way, there's only one correct way to do things. If you get caught up in that mindset, you can become very rigid, and you can become very intolerant and intolerable, because you will then start to like, and this is the thing about a reality check. You can reality check yourself, but everybody kind of lives in their own reality, and everybody kind of chooses the things that they want to include in their reality and the things that they don't. And a lot of people don't heal because they don't want to. They just don't want to. And that's okay. That's their reality. That's their lived experience. That's what they came here to do in this lifetime. Maybe they came here to be, you know, the bad guy in somebody else's story. It depends on how you think about the nature of reality. I don't know if anybody believes in reincarnation or any of those things, but yeah. And that circles all the way back to go wild, because you can go wild, but you can't, once again, as long as no harm is being done, you can't necessarily police how other people go wild. Now, you can choose whether you would like to interact with them and have that be a part of your reality, but you don't get to choose whether they do it at all. Like in the comfort of their own home. Like, that's weird and wild that people even have that desire within themselves to have that level of control over other people. Because, like, you bored, you need a hobby, you don't got enough to work on controlling yourselves. I find often that those are the people who are the least in control of themselves, and that's why they're always looking for something outside of themselves to point at and fix, because otherwise they might have to look in a mirror and, dear God forbid, they should have to sit with themselves and examine their own shit. That's a word. But let's see what the bottom of the deck energy is. Woo! First quarter moon in Aries. Step into your power. And I love this card. I don't actually even think I've pulled this card before, but this card is freaking fabulous. Like, look at the body expression of the dancer there. And all of life is really a dance. I saw something recently that was basically like all of nature, because everything is moving, even static items that we see and appear as static, even this bottle of Florida water. The plastic, the molecules in the plastic are all moving. Everything is always moving. Everything is in a constant state of vibration. Everything is always dancing. Everything got a little bop and a little rhythm to it. And so this is how you should step into life. And I had a really beautiful experience at the Algiers Ancestor Festivals. Anybody finds themselves in New Orleans around the second week in November, any given point in time, it's a beautiful experience. If your ancestors call you to it, I'm not going to give you all the details, but if you can find it, then it's for you. But one of the things that was relayed to a person in a reading, and one of the things that I think applied to everyone there, was basically, how do we move? How do we walk? Because those things are just microcosms of how we feel about ourselves. How do you step into a room? Do you walk in with your head down and your shoulders up and looking tense and hoping nobody notices you? Because I used to be that boy. I used to be shoulders up, don't notice me. And now a lot of that was because when people notice me, I'm very polarizing. It's either like, that Lady Sovereign song from the early 2000s. Nobody probably knows that song, but it's love me or hate me. Like, it tends to be that way. And so the less I am observed, the less I have to deal with weird things like what was going on in the comment section earlier. But they say if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So all of that with a grain of sand. All of that with a feather to balance off the heart. But yeah, step into your power. Step into it like that feeling when you put your foot into a really comfortable shoe, but it's also a really sturdy shoe. I don't know if that's just me, but there's like a really powerful, like if you put on like a boot and the inside is really soft, but it also feels like you could probably kick through a wall. And how would you step if you had that boot on? Would you walk on eggshells? Would you tiptoe? Or would you step heavy? Would you walk like a boss? Would you walk like you knew the impact of your presence and your steps? Would you walk like you know who you are, like you are your father's son or your mother's child, like you are your ancestors' greatest dreams? Because that's what you are. That's what you are. They told me. They told that's what you are. They wouldn't be telling me to talk to y'all if they didn't like y'all. Trust me, there's plenty of people that don't even acknowledge their ancestors. They don't even think it's a real thing. They only evoke them when it comes time to tell people to vote. Never laid an offering, never. I say all that to say, your ancestors love you. So walk like 8 billion things had to align for you to even be born, because they did. Walk like miracles had to happen for you to be where you are today, because they did. So own that shit and walk with the power and the purpose of it. Like, we are not in the age of half stepping no more. Nothing about this Pluto and Aquarius energy is like walk lightly. No, all of this is like, no. Step into your power. Go wild. Step into your power. Stop worrying about consequences, and not good consequences, but consequences that are really just fearful projections. Consequences that are just negative things that you have been told is a possible consequence, or when you brought it up to this person, they said this, that, or they said they didn't like it, or when you used to try to do it as a kid, people used to always like, forget all that. All that. For real. At the end of the day, F it all. F it all. Because nobody can walk your path but you. Nobody can dance your dance but you. Nobody can wear your shoes but you. So if you listening to them tell you how to step, they not you. They don't even know what you supposed to be doing. Most times we don't even know what we supposed to be doing, but we listening to, outside people trying to tell us how to step. And I say all that to say that my number one goal within all of this is always to get you to look within yourself, always to get you to go to you and your spiritual team and your ancestors and whoever you pray to, or if you don't pray, your therapist, your support system, or even just yourself. Part of stepping into your power is not relying on anything outside of yourself. So I hope that eventually everybody graduates from watching my readings. I am building teachers, people who are capable of taking these lessons, embodying them, and then going off. Like, fly, little bird, go be free. I have no interest in creating lifelong students who are dependent upon me, which is why I periodically disappear from doing readings and so forth. Because sometimes I have to do my own thing. I have to honor my own feelings. But also sometimes we gotta figure it out for ourselves without, somebody there to hold our hand. And there's something to be said for that. That's part of stepping into your power. Until you know the limits of yourself. It's very hard to step into your power, but it's very hard to know the limits of yourself, like your borders. Like, I'm saying, like your capacity, your capabilities at max and at minimum. It's hard to know those things if you are constantly riding with training wheels, if you are constantly walking with a crutch. You know what I'm saying? And I say all that to say that I am also talking to myself right now, because I am also, and not that I don't want to create lifelong students, because everybody is a lifelong student, because everybody should be constantly seeking to learn, but you should take lessons and be able to apply them and springboard to new lessons. My goal is that we aren't sitting here rehashing the same thing every week. The goal is that when I come on here to do readings, it's always some new and interesting and profound energies, to step into and to talk about and to embody, because that's the goal. The goal is to create a whole bunch of people and to inspire a whole bunch of people to be the best of themselves, whatever that looks like for them, and to step into their power, whatever that looks like for them. And whether that means you want to buy your own oracle cards, tarot cards, you want to get into a different form of divination, whether you are a prayer warrior, whether you receive your messages in your dreams, whether you receive your messages in the downloads. All I'm trying to say is spirit is constantly trying to communicate with us. The only reason I have to do so much talking is because most people have been taught that the subtle things in reality aren't real, that they don't count. You know what I'm saying? That it's not real, like that animal omens aren't real, and that your sixth sense isn't real and intuition isn't real, even though we are at the point where science is coming back around because Kofa, but science is coming back around because everything is a circle. There's no straight lines in this reality. But of course, science is coming back around to being able to prove that all of the things that indigenous societies have been saying forever, and white people have been like, but can you prove it? And they're like, we've been doing it for thousands of years and it always works. That's the proof. And they were like, but did you do it in a laboratory? And then they started doing it in the laboratories, and they were like, yo, everything that they said was going to happen is what happens. But some people, listen, some people are hard learners. I'm a little bit hard-headed myself, chalk it up to the Taurus moon. But there's something to be said for understanding that spirit is always trying to communicate with you. Spirit is always trying to contact you, whether it's, and trust that feeling. You get a feeling. There's a feeling of resonation in your heart chakra, in your solar plexus, in your soul, in your core. When you feel something and you know it's truth, it hits a certain spot, like, oh, right in the nugget, right in the good spot. And trust that when you feel it, when you get a message and it goes, ooh, that was for you. It doesn't matter if it's just a random status. That might be a message from God. That might be a message from one of your ancestors. If it's exactly what you needed to hear, it's not what you needed to hear. It's not a coincidence. Apologies, I was receiving a call. But yeah, if it's exactly what you need to hear, it's not a coincidence. It is very much a space of divine intervention, and it's always happening. There is no such even that was not accidental. Everything is intentional. There's an intent behind everything. Even when you ask somebody why they did something, they say they don't know. They do know. They might not want to examine why, but they know everything is done intentionally because you have to make a decision. And in that choice, that's where the intent is. So the same people who intentionally do rituals like Thanksgiving, yeah, let's share this story. So a couple of years ago, I came across an article that was basically about the Native American myth about like I say Native American like it's just a monolith. So I am not able to recall at this particular time which tribe it was related to, but there was a particular tribe that had a creation story featuring the turkey about how essentially the turkey stuck its neck out for everybody, and that's why it has its long neck. But everybody thought the turkey was not for the team until they saw that the turkey was for the team. And that's very much a microcosm for indigenous people on the planet and how they do so much and this is across cultures, across continents, how they do so much to maintain the equilibrium in vibrational soundness of this planet, but they are often looked at as if they contribute the least because, you know, they didn't make cars. They didn't, I mean, we wouldn't have Fortnite and stuff. And like, this is the thing, I like video games. I like modern conveniences, but would I trade it all in a heartbeat for everybody to be healthy and healed and for the planet to not be dying? Yes, I would. I would. Most people wouldn't. And that's why we are where we are. But I say all that to say, stop letting people who use magic on you tell you that you're not magic. Stop letting people who actively harness your magic against you to control and shape a reality that is antagonistic to your very being and soul. Stop letting them tell you that there's no such thing as magic. That would just be my advice. Everybody has free will. You're welcome to do what you like. You're welcome. Trust me. And this message will also be much more impressive in a couple years when I become who I'm going to be, so you can bookmark this. But trust me. Stop allowing the people who knew you were so magical that they had to kidnap you and enslave you and, you know, poison your food and your air and your water and had to come and colonize your land and like steal your language. Like, stop letting the people who did all of that because they saw how powerful you were. Stop telling them that. Stop letting them tell you that you don't have no power. Step into that shit. Unapologetically dance into it. Step into it. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen West Side Story. It's one of my favorite musicals, top 3. It would probably be number 1, but I just can't get past the point. Like, I have to stop watching after, like, before the gang fight scene. Like, I can't. It's peak depressing after that. But prior to that, it's a really, really good movie. And in the musical number for America, Rita Moreno, who's an amazing actress and beautiful, stunning individual, has this line where she's like, smoke in your pipe and put that in. And she does this thing. I'm going to post it probably on TikTok or on here. Actually, I'll post it over on Instagram so you guys can go and check it out on my Instagram. But she does this leg kick thing where she kicks her leg and she turns and she points all at the same time. And it's so graceful and feminine and bad bitch and boss just all wrapped up into one. And that's what this reminds me of. And that's what you all remind me of. And I say that even if you are a masculine, you know, I don't know who your favorite machismo character is, but you know, lather, rinse, repeat, you know, insert, excerpt, you know, y'all, you know what I meant. So at the end of the day going in, but, and so is this live. But another bottom of the deck energy, release control. Because at the end of the day, control is an illusion. We don't really have too much control over things. We have influence, but we don't have control. You can't control the weather. You can't control other people. I guess people like things because things can be controlled. That's really interesting. I guess that's why people like things so much, inanimate objects, because they can be controlled. But when it comes to most things, control is an illusion. All you can do is what you can do and let the chips fall where they may. And be at peace with that. And be at peace as long as you know that you did your best. Be at peace with that. Release control, because you can walk on eggshells. You can go out of your way on an Oedipus parents type level to try to prevent some shit, and it'll still happen. If it's meant to be, it'll be, baby, just let it be. Like, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. Like, it's, so that's why it's important to go wild, because you being so rigid and controlled and uptight ain't actually getting the desired outcome. All it's doing is stressing you the hell out, giving you high blood pressure, giving you anxiety, giving you tension, hyper. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just giving you, taking away your peace, taking away your joy. Because when you understand that all you can do is all you can do, it's so freeing. Oh, it's so freeing. Because you realize that you're only responsible for yourself, just like everybody else is only responsible for themselves. And as much as we can think that, like, oh, I can prevent no, once again, nobody's perfect. Nobody, this is not a reality where anything is perfect. There's always going to be friction. Bob Marley has a quote, and it's like one of my favorite quotes. He has a couple of, and I'm not going to say a couple, he has a lot of really good quotes. Anyway, we all know who Bob Marley was. At least if you're on this channel, I would hope that you do. But he has a line he has a saying that's like, everybody you meet is going to hurt you. Unintentionally, in an off comment on a Tuesday. It's no one in your life who you're never gonna have a moment of friction with. Even your parents, even your mother, and you came out of her body. You know what I'm saying? Like, every person, because it's just an outside force. And when outside forces interact, it's not always going to be a 1-to-1 ratio of harmony. The most cohesive groups and units will all tell you how forgiveness, understanding, being humble, well, not being, but problem solving, and all of those things are much more paramount over perfection. Because everybody's just out here trying their best. Everybody's out here trying their best. Some people aren't, but that's their best. Not doing their best is their best, because if they could, they would. But at the end of the day, release control, go wild. I like how that came completely full circle. Go wild. Be unapologetically you. Stop fearing chasing your dreams. Stop, and I'm talking also to myself, because perfectionism is a really wild thing. Like, I have been working on a project, and it's pretty much done, and I just have like a couple of hurdles to get through. But in my mind, I'm just like, I want it to be perfect, and I want it, and I want to make sure I release it at the exact time, and I want it to get, but I can't control how it's received. I can't. No amount of anything can control how it's received. All I can do is create and put it out there. And the chips are going to fall where they may. And if people vibe with it and it resonates with them, much like this video, if people vibe with it and it resonates with them, then it'll get likes and shares. And if it doesn't get likes and shares, then maybe it's not supposed to find people. Maybe it's just really ahead of its time. Maybe it's just supposed to find people when it's supposed to find people. Like, I think about Van Gogh all the time as a creative. Like, I think about Van Gogh all the time as a creative, because it's so wild that people treated him like he was not talented when he was alive. He died impoverished, and his paintings sell for billions of dollars, but he couldn't control how they were received, and he probably died thinking that he did not achieve what he wanted to achieve. But little did he know, he was just early. 100 years early. That's gotta suck. It's gotta suck to be essential, like to be like, not like, you know what I'm saying? To be like, oh my goodness, this ancient text. But think about that. So many ancient texts that we put stock into now went through whole periods of time where people weren't fucking with them. Even the culture that created it weren't fucking with them. But they came, but everything has its time and everything has its place and everything has its purpose. And even if you create something and it only helps and touches one person, nigga, that's enough. That person may have really needed it. You don't know who they are. You don't know who they going to interact with. You don't know who they're going to whisper down the lane that knowledge to. You don't know if they're going to instill that in their children, and then their children's children are going to instill that in their children. Like, we do not understand our reach and our impact and our magic and our power a lot of times. And so we get very rigid and we get, like, I want it to do this and I want to do this, because like, I would like for this message to reach as many people as possible. I would like to be able to furnish people with personal readings if they want them, if they desire them. But I can't make nobody hit me up for a personal reading. All I can do is step into my power, step into my purpose, this is part of it, being a mouthpiece for for the Most High, and your ancestors, and angels and all the beings that have your best interest at heart. But I can't control how that's received. There are people who probably think I'm crazy. There are people who probably think that I'm like evil and I do spell work. And people are going to think what they're going to think. I can't control that. It's based on too many factors. Whatever happened in their life, plus their lived experience, plus all the environments. It's like that Zach Galifianakis meme where it's all the numbers going and he's trying to calculate from fucking Hangover when he's counting the cards. Like, it's that level of calculation when it comes to trying to be able to control shit at that level. You just gotta do you. Let the chips fall where they may. That has been today's new moon in Sagittarius reading, which is actually very appropriate because Sagittarius is, the glyph is the glyph is not a right word. It's not an inaccurate word, but it's not the most accurate word. The symbol, the symbol for their sign, is that half man. It's like a centaur, it's half man, half beast. And so that's why, even though the message was go wild, it was also attend to the details. Because, like, yeah, step into your power, but don't do it all willy-nilly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, be mindful. Don't be reckless. But also don't walk on eggshells. It's such a balance. It's such a balancing act. And everybody's balance is found within themselves. So I can't necessarily tell you how to balance your shit. I can tell you how I've balanced mine. And if you can glean some insight from that, then I am grateful. Because that makes me, having gone through it, worth it. To be able to help somebody else in a previous situation or in a similar situation that I was previously in. This has been fun. I always really enjoy doing these. Especially now that I've released control and I'm not so hung up on like, oh man, doing these readings and they're not getting a bunch of views, especially the ones over here. Because on TikTok, we be doing numbers sometimes. Like, I've done readings over on TikTok that have gotten like over 1,000 views. And these joints over here be sitting at like 12 and 30 and shit. But if those 12 or those 30 people got what they needed, then I did what I was supposed to do. I know that, I'm going to receive my blessings. I'm going to be furnished with the things that I need to do my purpose. So I'm not micromanaging reality, anymore. I have released. I do not nitpick. I don't really have a lot of picks. I tend to be very much let the chips fall where they may, and uh do my best, do my best, do my best. And my best is different on different days. I've been like, my cycle's been on, I've just been dead to the world. But today I felt like a person. And so, like, it's about honoring your feelings and honoring where you are in your journey and being okay with wherever you are in your journey and understanding that you're not behind and that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, even if you can't perceive it. And even if it's not a fun place to be, there's something to be learned from it. It's teaching you resilience. It's teaching you strength. This past year was nonsense. It was beautiful, but it was also large amounts of nonsense on an interpersonal level. And none of it was fun. And if I had gotten the choice, I don't think I would have chosen to go through any of it. But I can honestly admit that I'm better for all of those things on the tail end. I'm better for all of those things. I learned so much about myself, about my capacity for love, about my capacity for boundaries, about my capacity to be soft and hard at the same time. I learned so much about who had my best interest at heart and what that even looks like, and how to show up for people and how people show up for me. And I learned so much from the BS. And so I'm grateful for it. But there, was a previous point in time when I was in the midst of it, when I was just like, hey, yo, this is extra. What is the point of this? But that's why they say hindsight is 2020. Because now that I have the hindsight and I've seen how the information that I gleaned from those circumstances was able to inform circumstances moving forward, and I was able to have boundaries and protect myself from putting myself in situations where I would be acting out of character. Like, growth is such a beautiful thing, but it is often a result of hardship. It is often, growing pains, stretch marks. See what I'm saying? Like, growth tends to leave like rings and growth leaves marks and impacts. But it's necessary and it's worth it if that's your goal. Some people are fine with stagnation. More power to them. Their stagnation does not stop my growth. My growth does not stop their stagnation. Trust me, I have tried on that when I have tried to grow for other people. You can't do it. Release control. You can't do it. And that was my phone telling me that it's on 10%. So I am going to honor its feelings and put it on the charger, because it's been being a soldier, and it's been doing, I appreciate it. Even though it's an inanimate object, I understand that this is a symbiotic relationship. I plug it in and give it purpose. It allows me to do certain things. And so I'm grateful for it. Just like I'm grateful for all of you. And I'm grateful for your parents for meeting and thinking each other was cute. So grateful for that. So grateful. Because look at you. You're so beautiful and wonderful. So happy to see y'all. Happy that y'all here. But I say all that to say, if you follow me over on TikTok, check me out over there. If you follow me over on Instagram, check me out over there. There is music, videos, comedy content, and also more spiritual content coming soon. There's all sorts of things. Are you not entertained? Now that Gladiator is back, are you not entertained? And if you're not, tell me what type of content you would like. And if it's within my wheelhouse, because I also paint, I do woodworking, I make jewelry. And if you guys would like to see some of that in process, that's entirely possible. But y'all be well, y'all be blessed, y'all be y'all beautiful selves, and Have a great day. Have a great Sunday. Hope your Sunday dinner is good. Whether you're eating leftovers or they gone, I hope it's delicious. I hope it hits the spot. I hope you are well nourished. I hope your sleep tonight is just so restful and you wake up tomorrow feeling like you could run every marathon that ever was. I pray and speak abundance and glory over your life if you are deserving of it and if you are doing the work. And the Most High knows your heart better than I do. So that's up to him to disperse the funds. I just made the deposit. You know what I'm saying? So say all that to say I love y'all. Y'all be well. Y'all be blessed. Y'all be great. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to everybody who is going to tune in the future. And